All right, good afternoon and welcome to our channel, Princess It. Today is the 30th of July 2025, and this submission this afternoon, what I want to drop here is that of emotion, and also is going to be pragmatic. In other words, the one that is expected to proffer solution. So it's going to be a pragmatic submission on maybe the involvement of the very dark man in the Nigerian grand ecosystem. This is Princess Seed, and then we are reporting live on our channel just to get us all together in one perspective. Now, we understand that in recent months, the Nigerian grand ecosystem has been riddled with tension, with silence, with speculations, with mixed feelings and desperate expectations. A lot of ordinary citizens, the poor, the middle class, who subscribed with their trust, time, and last resources, have grown so weary from the long wait. A lot of changing of narratives, lack of clarity from coordinators, NGOs, implementing bodies, and this vacuum of truth, transparency, and accountability has been so deeply exploited by scammers, and unfortunately, it has left a lot of Nigerians mentally, emotionally, and financially broken. But imagine for a moment if someone outside the system with a deep sense of justice, boldness, and influence, someone like the very dark man, decided to pay close attention to this space, not to stir chaos, not to promote division or disrespect, but to courageously kind of unravel the truth behind the delays, the inconsistencies, the silences, and the real standing of the grants, the palliatives of the AGPGN, the disbursements that are supposed to lift the poor and the vulnerable out of economic despair. Now, this submission actually seeks to objectively consider the potential impact of the very dark man's involvement, not with emotion, not with bias or suspicions, but with a pragmatic approach, with fact and with optimism. Now, why I'm saying this is I want us to know why the grand ecosystem needs a loud voice right now. Let us not pretend about it. The ecosystem is chaotic. Too very many voices are speaking, but very few are telling the truth. We see dates come and disappear. Statements are released without actions. Videos go, voice note goes viral, but no direct link to verified outcomes. Leadership in this sector has grown so silent at the exact time when the people need the most assurance. And in this kind of environment, the hope of the people begins to lose its footing, and faith becomes a fragile thing to hold on to. Now, what the people desperately need at this current time is not another sweet speech, not another soon time or about time, and definitely not another ambiguous video call or voice notes from some anonymous figures. What the people need is the truth. And if it takes a man like the very dark man, who is fearless, widely followed, already known for calling out injustice, loved by the Nigerian masses, to demand and to extract that truth from this system, then maybe it's time we'll let him in. Now, secondly, in my own vision, what the very dark man represents in times like this, VDM is controversial, no doubt. His words are raw, His expressions are unfiltered sometimes, and his personality seems like polarizing. But beyond that, there is one thing you can't take away from that guy. He fights for the people. He is not a pastor. He is not a politician either. He is not a government appointee. He has no special stake in any NGO. And that independence is exactly why his entry into this sector might just be the wake-up call to this system. When everyone is either scared to speak or financially entangled, someone must rise from among the ordinary people to demand answers. Someone must have the guts to walk into the EFCC offices, call out the NGOs fronting some dubious activities, ask the toughest questions on camera, and be able to hold all actors accountable to the promises waiting for intervention. Now, I believe that if the goal is to restore order and to force transparency and clean out exploitation in the grant and this humanitarian funding system, then a man like the very dark man might just be the right kind of fire. Now, if you are thinking that this could be destructive, I want you to see the perspective I'm talking from, how his involvement can be constructive rather than being destructive. Now, let's be clear. We are not asking for VDM to cause violence or witch hunt innocent coordinators who are genuinely working hard to make this disbursement happen. No. The goal is not chaos. The goal of the VDM is clarity. If you know, of late I've been hammering on clarity and also the voice of the country director. But most importantly, people should ask questions. There should be clarity. There are elderly people in this scheme. There are aged ones. There are widows. There are orphans. There are single mothers. A lot of people. There are students. There are market women. A lot of people whose BP can alternate in time. But it appears like from the management, there's a less concern. Now, the involvement of the VDM can be strategic and done in such a way that he tries to investigate from both sides, from the beneficiaries, from the government, from the donors. It can be in such a way that he requests some interviews with credible NGO heads to understand their challenges and limitations. It can also be in such a way that he visits the EFCC, the CBN, or any of the related institutions to confirm if funds are actually lodged and where the bottlenecks are coming from. His involvement can also be to expose a kind of faceless grant or fake grant fronts that are collecting data, collecting money from people for selfish gains. His involvement can also be to demand some press briefings or a kind of documented statements from those who are involved. In other words, let him just shine the light on the silent backdoor activities that only insiders currently benefits from. I believe that this will not only bring light into the dark corners of this ecosystem, but also put pressure on all stakeholders to wake up and face their duties with fear of public backlash. It's no longer enough to say we are working when millions are losing their lives and losing faith daily. If VDM engages with wisdom and fairness, it might just inspire the kind of systematic cleansing that the poor and the hopeful ones have long prayed for. Now, in addition to this, I want to suggest a kind of what the masses should do if VDM steps in. If this possibility comes reality or becomes a reality tomorrow, it's quite so important for the masses to understand their role in supporting a clearer and cleaner and more accountable system. Now, first off, you shouldn't expect instant money. VDM is not a magician. Yeah, for the record, he's not a bank either. His role would just be to expose and investigate, not to distribute to anybody. Now, don't also start attacking genuine coordinators. No, the truth is, some leaders are genuinely burdened and frustrated themselves. So don't lump everyone inside this scheme altogether. A kind of real facts, real details should be shared with him. Let him hear real testimonies. If there are some documents that are very available, that a kind of unreleased data agreements that have been breached over time, consistent failure within the system and twisting of voices, twisting of promises, then the masses should support the investigation constructively. A kind of encouraging transparency, but do not descend into hate speech or tribal sentiments, what have you, within the ecosystem. We need to be patient with the process. This exposure might shake the foundations, but the long-term result would be justice and clarity, I believe. The end goal is going to be restoration of trust and the real disbursement wherever that rat is hiding within the ecosystem. It's going to be smoked out. If we are being honest, many Nigerians are tired. Tired of the promises, tired of the shifting dates, tired of being told to remain hopeful when stomachs are empty and their rents are due. Tired of voice notes that say everything but reveal nothing. But if someone like VDM puts his lens on this space, two things might finally happen. Every false hopes will die. And that's a good thing anyway. Let the real hopes be built on truth, sanctity, pureness, transparency, equity. Then hidden truths will surface, and that's even better. And in the midst of that process, we might finally begin to see other coming back into the space. Real disbursement may follow. The real donors may return. Real NGOs may emerge, strengthened with clean hands and clean records. He that must come to equity or something like that must come with clean hands. We must not be afraid of truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how many times or how many names fall in the process, for the sake of the 90% of the masses who have waited faithfully. Somebody must carry their burden publicly. Let's not forget, the fight is bigger than the grants. This is about national accountability. The grant ecosystem reflects the larger problem in our society. No system of checks, no whistleblowers protected, no public tracking of funds, no penalty for lies. If VDM's involvement is going to expose the loopholes and force reforms not only for this cycle, but the future of social empowerment structures in this country, then I think it's a welcome idea. Let him dig. Let him ask some salient, hard questions. Let him knock on the doors that people are scared to open. Let him put on the lens and the camera. On those things that they prefer to keep inside the shadows. Because only when the system is exposed to the light, that's when the truth will be separated from fictions and the people will be truly free. In summary, finally, This is not a call for drama or social media brawls. No. This is a sober, well-considered call for truth. It's a sober, well-considered call for transparency and justice in the grand ecosystem. The very dark man is not perfect. No, he's a human. He's very much human, just like you and I. But in times like this, the people don't need perfection. They need a loud voice with no fear of power, one that is driven by the love for justice, and maybe, just maybe, his involvement might bring an end to the long night of silence, confusion, and heartbreak that a lot of vulnerable Nigerians have endured far for too long. So, if he steps in, let him in, but let him in for the truth. This is Princess Seed Channel. We are for the masses. We stand alone. We stand for someone. We stand for everybody else. We stand for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And the truth must be spoken. In case you're new here, we deal with updates on a regular, good news, information that could spice your life, transcend you to a life where you can have a meaning. If you fall short of information anywhere, bereft of right to do, fall in here, click on that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on vital updates. When we drop one, you certainly have one. Pragmatically, consider this submission this afternoon. I feel very strongly in my spirit not to cut chaos, not to find any drama right in the system, but to bring the voices of truth out. The involvement of VDM, I think, is of necessity. I rest my case. Have a nice day.